Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoax Hoganson, three avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Gran Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? The Gran Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Gran Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' three-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins head down to Tampa Bay. They lose all three. They get swept, Dan. And I know we have this ongoing record of things we say on this show. And sometimes we say things, Dan, and now we need to answer for them. And a couple of episodes ago, Dan, I had asked you, are the good times over? Is this all she wrote? Is the fun we could have with this Minnesota Twins team absolutely over with? And what you had said, Dan Thompson, was you said, well, if they lose, if they get swept in the next two series, or if they lose 5 of 6, yeah, then I'm going to start to adjust sort of my thinking about this team. Well, Dan Thompson, they have lost 5 of their next 6. What do you have to say now about this Minnesota Twins team?
I think you got to go for the future now at this point, that the future needs to be now, right? So you got to call everybody up, get rid of the cut bait on guys. Maybe even a person like Matt Wallner needs to just go away. I don't know. There's some change that needs to be made because you may as well at this point. Now, at the same time, you're only 2.5 back in the AL Central standings here. The Guardians at 15-14, the Tigers at 14-14, who we saw the Twins handle. Twins at 12-16. White Sox 11-16, and the Royals 10-17. But times are bad when the White Sox are nipping at your heels.
It's never a good sign, Dan. So I have come to the point, though, where I actually look forward to Twins off days, so I know I don't have to see a Twins loss, and that's never a good feeling, Dan.
Well, you're not getting one tomorrow, right? They're right back at it at home against the Mariners. Now, but speaking of home, so you had a little gathering on Friday night with Mr. and Mrs. Hoganson. Tell us about this event.
Yes, so the listeners may remember from last season, Andrew Hoax Hoganson, our third chair, special guest appearances by and all that, he, let's just say he has these, what do you call them, delusions of grandeur?
Something like that.
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Hoax hubris.
And he believed that he was going to get to take batting practice to Target Field with wooden bats, and he believed that he was going to hit a home run at Target Field. And the parameters of the bet were simple. If he hit a home run, I had to wear a cheese head for the full season recap show. If he didn't hit a home run, Hoax is pretty anti-board games, and I love board games. If you listen to the show for a long time, I love board games, I love baseball. These are my two loves that I like to spend a lot of time on. And Hoax doesn't understand board games. He doesn't understand how they could be fun. Well, he lost, of course, because there was no chance he was going to hit a home run.
Exactly,
not at all. But anyway, so he had to come to my house. We played a 3.5-hour board game. I fed him dinner. I made a nice meal and everything. I'll let him next time he's on the show kind of give you the full recap and his full thoughts. Just know we all had a wonderful time. It was a very good evening, and I think some people might be surprised what Hoax came away with as far as his thoughts on board games are concerned.
Well, that's a nice little preview here of the next time Hoax is on here. We'll get him on in the next couple episodes. There is a series here to talk about, though, David, so I think we ought to move forward into the series recap.
Series recap.
Dan, as we're filling in notes for each of these series, it can be kind of lengthy. A lot of interesting things happen in baseball games. These are the shortest game notes I think I've seen out of us so far this season, for sure. Not ever, probably, but it's up there. So game 1, Twins lose this one 2-6. Taj Bradley apparently haunted by the ghosts of the Trop here. He goes 6 1/3 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks, and this is the big number, Dan, 4! Exclamation point, 4 home runs for our guy Taj.
Yeah, this was definitely not his best start. I mean, he did manage to get deep into the game. He gets into the 7th inning, but the Rays seemed to see him coming.
Absolutely. So then the Twins offense sputters yet again, going 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Both home runs came courtesy of solo home runs, one by Brooks Lee in the 5th and Royce Lewis in the 9th, which that's a fun replay to watch because Royce Lewis's home run hits the very top of the foul pole, which is super interesting. It's just kind of a cool angle to look at. The only other note I have on this game, Dan, is that neither Jeffers nor Keishel make an appearance in this game, which seems odd because the game wasn't totally out of reach, but I would have expected to see some of these, some appearance out of these two.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
Primping, right? It's a whole thing. We're going to talk more about these off days here for these guys soon. Then we'll go to game 2. The Twins lose this one 6-1. Maybe the highlight of it comes in the bottom of the first when the Twins get an out at home. We'll talk about this later. That's how bad the series was, and kind of the challenge that maybe ought not have been. Bailey Ober has a fine start here, so we have to be careful with how we talk about him because it was really good. We will talk about him a little bit later too. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and they only came on a Luke Fraley home run, couple walks, 3 strikeouts.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
But aside from that, really not much to celebrate here. Maybe for the Rays, Shane McClanahan shut him down. Shane McClanahan has dealt with injuries the last couple of years. So from a baseball standpoint, it is actually kind of cool to see him pitching this well for the Rays. He goes 5 innings, no earned runs, just 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And then Taylor Rogers, who I think has just been kind of irrelevant this season, really, for the Twins, has a bad relief appearance. He doesn't even get any outs, allows a couple hits, a walk, and then 3 runs are credited to him. Only run comes on an RBI single by Lewis in the 9th. So again, kind of this little too late. And the Twins 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And they pointed this out on the broadcast that during the Twins winning streak, that 7 of 8 or something like that, they were maybe the best team in the league hitting with runners in scoring position. And they definitely came back down to average here during this streak. They have not been good. That's really been, I think, if there's one factor in this stretch here where they've lost 8 of 9, it's that.
Oh, no question. It just looks so much like 2025. It's really disappointing. You thought, oh my goodness, the way that this season started, you're thinking maybe they've turned a corner here, but that's just not how it's shooken out, Dan. Shaken out.
Shaken out. Yeah.
Shaken. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know. Words are hard.
Take us through game 3.
So game 3, Twins drop this one 2-4. SWR struggles 4 1/3, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 Ks, and a homer. This game, though, Dan, it does continue to help the Twins drop their average with runners in scoring position as they go 1 for 5. Bottom of the 3rd, the Rays do all their damage here. 3 singles and then a big bop from Yandy Diaz for a 2-run homer. Rays are up 4-0 at that point. Bottom of the 4th, Trevor Larnach, apparently if you're a left fielder for the Twins, you have a cannon and you can throw home because he throws out Taylor Walls trying to score from second on a Simpson single. That's, again, probably the only highlight worth watching here outside of the top of the 7th, Dan, where the Twins finally get on board with a Brooks Lee 2-run homer. It's the shortest homer for the Twins this season, 333 feet, with an exit velocity of 96.3 miles per hour.
My back!
I mean, isn't that so Twins, right? I mean, the short 333 feet. They reviewed it too, even, and it was upheld. We're going to talk more about Brooks Lee a little bit later. I do have some thoughts there. But then the bullpen, David, pretty good.
Not bad. Banda, Funderburk, Sands, and Topa get through 3 2/3. No earned runs, Dan. We're going to talk a little bit more about the bullpen usage in this game as well, because if there was ever a game that a manager was going to manage to lose, this is a game that Rocco needed to be at the helm for, Dan, I think, because what are you doing burning these arms? But we'll talk about that in a minute here, Dan.
Well, speaking of burning arms, David, so Cascade CBX Sports, if you have a situation like that where your arms are burning, this is the product to go to here. It's athletes' first choice for peak performance. It's available in sample size, roll-on, and pump bottle. Cascade CBX Sport is changing the game with their unique line of sport CBD designed for athletes by athletes. The CBD industry talks a lot about efficacy, which is just a big word for if a product actually works. With more CBD per milligram than the competition, Cascade CBX Sport produces products are the first choice of athletes to manage pain and reduce inflammation. See for yourself. Visit CascadeCBXSport.com and trust the Shield to stay on the field.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Dan, your spell has come to an end. You're finally back in the win column.
Yeah, not super proud of this number, though. I win this with Lewis with 4 points. The listeners took Jeffers, who had 2. Keyshaw had 1 point for Hogs, and Buxton had -1 for you. nowhere near the leader Brooks Lee was with 14 points, which is one of the better ones this season for a Puckett's Picks score. But I extended my lead, David. How about you go ahead and talk about the standings?
Yes, it's very sad. So Dan's in the lead at 4.5. I'm in second with 3. Hoag's in third with 2.5, and the listeners at 1.5. But as we always say, Dan, it's early. I wonder how long can we keep saying it's early? Like, at what point do we say it's no longer early? It's the mid-game, do we say?
Ooh, that's a really good point. Well, I mean, it's not quite May, so I think it's still early until that May 10th date that you put out there. I think that's a pretty good mid we can start to say at that point.
All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's push forward here, Dan. Beast versus bench.
Beast versus bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
I mean, I got to go with Brooks Lee. My goodness, improvement on both sides of the ball here. 4 for 10, 3 RBI, a stolen base. And the big one here, Dan, I'd say, no errors out of Brooks Lee.
It's the fundamentals, right? The son of a baseball coach, David. If there's one thing Brooks should be able to do, it's things like this. And hitting a short home run is such a Brooks Lee thing to do. He's got 5 on the year.
Yeah.
I think, isn't that the co-lead with Buxton for on the team?
I stopped looking at those stats a long time ago, Dan.
I'm going to go on my beast. I'm going to go with Bailey Ober. He's been good over the last few starts here, which if there's the silver, I mean, the Twins did not get totally blown away in this series, but they were clearly disjointed. The pitching staff, I thought, did enough here, and I thought Bailey Ober's start here, this was one that they could have won. In the end, obviously, the bullpen didn't bail him out there, but just getting everything aligned, it's good to see Bailey Ober looking a little bit more like Taj Bradley and Joe Ryan. From on a regular, well, maybe that's not the way to say it.
Well, no, it's a great segue, Dan. It's a great segue because I am going to put Taj Bradley on my bench. This was his first really, really rough outing, I'd say. And, Shelton was happy just to leave him out there and to keep throwing the ball here until he could throw no more. I'm hoping this is just a blip, and I hope he comes back. And it is always weird. Whenever you're going back to pitch against a team that you played for previously, there's a lot of, I think, emotions there, as well as that organization obviously has quite a few notes on you as well. So I'm going to chalk it up to that. I'm not going to be like, oh, no, Taj Bradley is faltering here, and he's not the guy we thought he could be potentially. I think let's just give him a little bit of breathing space here to leave Tampa Bay, and hopefully in his next outing he comes back into form.
Yeah, as for my bench, gosh, I have to go with the moose, Matt Wallner there.
Yes, but a very cute moose. Make all the boy moose go.
This is super discouraging the way that he's been playing here. Just one hit in this series. I don't know what to make of whether he should be still on this team. Does he need to get sent down, kind of like he has over the last couple of years?
I think that's the logical step at this point because I'm sick of watching these at-bats that are nowhere near the competition level they need to be, Dan, to be on a big league roster.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should cook forward here onto Derek's debrief.
You ever seen Buck with his pants down? No.
Derek's debrief.
Okay, so that's what I want to talk about here as far as the pitching, though. I want to talk about why is he pulling SWR at 78 pitches in Game 3? Like, they're up 4-0 at this point. It sort of felt out of reach. You got Buxton and Martin on the bench, and you don't have a scheduled off day. So you're burning probably your 4 best bullpen arms on a game that you're not going to win.
Who are those 4 best bullpen arms, David? I'm a little confused about who fits into that category.
It's a matter of degree, Dan. It's a degree and averages. And for the Twins, these are probably their best bullpen arms. It's Banda, Funderburk, Sands, and Topa. Is there someone else you want to throw?
I don't have that sounder. Can you play our bullpen sounder?
Oh, man, where can I find it? I don't know if I can find it. One moment. Oh, no, the delay here is terrible, Dan. Okay, well, what it is it's snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's all we can do, Dan. I can't find it. I feel so terrible.
Well, you'll reclaim that one because that's going to be a sounder that we need to be bringing up a little bit more. It's just, I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Derek, but I do agree that it makes more sense to leave your starters out there because they're kind of the known entities. And you're right. I mean, they're already down 4-0 here. The best case scenario, they come back in this, but and they did a little bit, right? They scored a couple runs to make it interesting, but yeah. And again, we have a lot of sympathy, I think, for Derek because what's the guy supposed to do?
No. Okay, so I did find it, and the reason I couldn't find the sounder is because I have it under the name of the pitcher that caused the sounder to begin with, which was Krisky, and I totally forgot that he was one of our relievers last season. So I'll play the sounder now just for continuation or continuity.
Mine for Derek here is the scheduled off days. So Jeffers and Keachel don't play in game one, and Jeffers I'm going to understand obviously because he's a catcher, and catchers need the days off for their knees. Though that's what I'm told. I guess I don't know these things for sure.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
Luke Keeschall though is a little bit questionable. He's a young guy. You would think he could play every day.
Yeah.
Okay, but Byron Buxton. So I believe that Tampa is still a turf state, like an artificial turf surface, and so I
Yes.
do like that. I don't want Byron Buxton playing 3 days on a turf like this, and I believe that he DH'd in one of these. Maybe that was last series that he DH'd. So I like how he's handling Buxton in that regard. Or no, he did. He DH'd earlier, so he played 1 game on turf. So I actually like how he's doing that. If he can time him out like that, where Buxton's off days do come on turf, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea, but it is sort of one of those things where, my goodness, sitting Jeffers and Keeschall and Buxton and Martin, it just starts to like add up to be like, you don't have enough options to say that this is an adequate lineup without those guys in them. And so you have to realize that you're rolling with the B squad here, and that can be very complicated when you're playing with a baseball team that's just not very good all around, Dan.
All right, well, we do have a couple moments to talk about here in the next segment.
Minnesota moment.
Well, so game 2, bottom of the first, there's a runner in. Chandler Simpson is super fast, right? Like we got a sounder for that. And he steals second base seemingly before Bailey Ober has even gotten into his windup here to get into second base. He gets the third on a grounder, and so there's 1 out. And a ball hit to left field that, as I watched Austin Martin set himself for this, it appeared as if he had no interest in actually throwing out Simpson at home or thinking that he wasn't going to get him. But what a dart that he threw to get him there. I had a lot of hope at that point here. Austin Martin has looked excellent this season. This is kind of a moment just to talk about him. He's getting on base, I think, almost half the time. And then the funny part to me, though, was when the Rays challenged, and the camera had a great angle on this, where they're watching, and I forget who the bench coach is for the Rays. Cash, I believe, is their manager. And the bench coach does the Rocco swirl, right, to seemingly play on, and immediately Kevin Cash just puts his hands, and I wonder, like, is this one of those moments where you know what you're going to say, and it's like he's instinctively assuming that his bench coach is just going to tell him what he wants to hear, but then he like, how did you interpret that? Because that seems like there could be a little some relational tension there in the Rays dugout.
In my heart of hearts, I sort of hope that they had like a team meeting in the management room, and they were like, okay, so if we're going to review it, we do this signal. And so they do the exact opposite, and they were not on the same page to begin with. But no, I think it's one of those things where I think truly Cash saw him do that, and his mind just skipped a beat. And he's like, oh, so that means to challenge it for sure. He's like telling me like, oh, definitely challenge that. He's like, no, there's a very specific signal here in order to challenge the play. But it was so funny because Provis on the call was like it took him a second. He's like, I interpreted that to be don't challenge. Right. And then like when there was no angle that was going to make him safe at home, no chance. No. And so it was a very weird interaction. And you have to think Cash is like, okay, what have I done here? like after the fact, well, I just want to know what was the conversation between him and the bench coach after he challenged, right. And the bench coach is like,
what am I here for? I thought I have a job here. You're not even listening to me. Anyway.
And it's not even him. He's listening to the guy who's on the phone.
Right. Like, this is a complicated phone game, like a game of telephone here that they're going through.
Yes.
Why doesn't you just talk to the guy? Anyway, it's a complicated game of signals.
Yes, there's layers, Dan. Haven't you seen the org chart? You can't have people at the top talking to the people that many layers down. But okay, I'm going to go with game 3, bottom 3. And the only reason I'm picking this, Dan, is because it's the SWR overthrow. So it's the only error, though, the Twins had on the series, which I think is a great step in a good direction. Like, obviously, terrible series, no offensive performance whatsoever. But my goodness, with the fielders that we have, if you get through a series with only 1 error, I will sign up for that every single time.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
But I hate that it's a pitcher throwing the ball. It makes me laugh every time that a pitcher makes an error, because it's like you throw the ball 100 times in the game, and I don't know. I know it's a different throw, but anyway, all right, let's move forward here to Mauer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
Well, so, okay. Are you ready to apologize to the grief that you gave me for my season prediction, my crazy prediction, admittedly, that Brooks Lee, I thought that Brooks Lee would start 140 games at short. He's played, I think, 26 or 27 games now. I believe all of them have been starts. Sure, I can't imagine he's DH'd.
No.
So he's on pace so far, and he's hitting like his OPS is like in the 750s. I don't know if we'd call what he's doing at shortstop competent, but like he's not totally screwing up right now, and he's hitting home runs. Like, do I get any credit, or do I still got a long ways to go? Do you think?
Okay, so I misunderstood this question. I thought what you had in the notes was like me apologizing to Brooks Lee, but no, you're looking for an apology
I want
from me to
me.
you. Okay, yeah, no, because it's a podcast, and we can't be apologizing to each other for mocking the other's sort of predictions here. I will apologize to Brooks Lee because at this moment I sort of put him as the least valuable player. I thought he was going to struggle mightily, but to your credit, Dan, truly. If he continues at this pace, I will definitely say at the end of the season that I was wrong. Because right now he's hitting 253, which is decently high as far as this team is concerned. Like you said, 5 homers, 15 RBIs. I don't know, Dan. I think that it's not a terrible spot for Brooks Lee to be in. And the calls for Kalen Culpepper have started to drop a little bit.
So, but at some point you want Kalen Culpepper on the team too. So did they just both come up and then maybe one of them has to learn some second base or a little like that's what I wonder is because we look at Brooks Lee as being the shortstop. We look at Keyshaw being the second baseman and Royce Lewis being the third baseman. We don't think of any of them as being like a Willie Castro utility guy. So at some point when you want Culpepper up, there's going to have to be a choice made there between those guys or maybe there's going to have to be some guys working at the other positions, I think, if Brooks Lee keeps playing well enough to justify being the starting shortstop.
Yeah, it gets a little bit messy because when you start to make the roster, you're like, okay, well, maybe we move Brooks to third and then we put Royce at DH if he starts hitting well. But Bell has done pretty well in the DH spot, not as of late, unfortunately, but he started the season so hot. You sort of don't want to take him out of that slot, but you don't really want him playing first base because he's not good at first base. But you don't really care if Cody Clemens is at first base or what do I call him here? Tarasenko? Not Tarasenko.
Victorini.
Victorini. That's what I call him.
Tarasenko plays right wing
for the Wild.
For the Wild. Yeah.
I did want to say too, I understand the Twins lost on Saturday, but my goodness, if that's what it takes for the Wolves and the Wild to win, I'll sign up for that every time, especially this season. If we were talking like a September baseball game where we're talking about playoff seeding, that's a different thing. But right now, Twins losing games in April leading to Wild victories and Wolves victories in the postseason, you got to sign up for that deal every time, Dan.
Absolutely. So I think maybe that's what the Twins are doing. They're just leaving space for Minnesota's other teams to take the headlines, I think, at this point. We haven't even gotten, though, to yours. Your music.
No, in the same vein, though. So I think we nailed May 1st as the date where you got to start making call-ups if the team is struggling. And clearly the team is struggling offensively specifically. So my question to you is, Dan, how would you shake up this roster, if you would at all? And if you are going to shake up the roster, how many moves and which ones are you making?
I'm sending Wallner down to AAA, and I'm calling up probably Rodriguez now. I mean, I think you give him a chance. And then I'm probably sending down James Outman or getting, I guess it would be DFAing James Outman and maybe even bringing Culpepper up now. And you just kind of work out these issues here. Because I don't know. I realize that's maybe premature a little bit, but it's almost May 1st. This isn't a team. This team's not going to win the division with the guys that it's got. The way that this team wins the division is these young guys come up. Wally Jenkins comes up at some point there too. And you've got this lineup now that's full of young, exciting players to kind of mix in with this interesting, like, veteranous group. I mean, like, Josh Bell is... By the way, when you watch Josh Bell swing a baseball bat, is it just interesting to you how he's doing that? It doesn't look like a common... It looks like he's swatting it or, like, whacking at it.
Yeah.
And he hits it hard when he does, but it's like this... Anyway, it's a strange swing. That's what I would do. The pitching staff, unless you're going to trade. We talked about this last episode. Unless you trade for somebody, you're not going to trade for somebody right now. You're not going to get a bullpen arm. It seems it's any better. So I don't know what you do there, but at some point you hope that the young guys can help you just outscore teams in a series like this, where you could win the games 8-6 instead of losing them 6-2.
Yes, I think I sign off on every move that you've just described, Dan, and I agree. It's a bummer we don't have a move to make on the pitching side as well, but we'll see. The starters, not their best showing, obviously, in these games. However, if they can return to form and they keep doing what they've done most of this season, if you get just 1 or 2 bats that are effective, Dan, this team can still win some baseball games. And I want to see them get back to 500, but now, Dan, now you're 4 games under 500, and that just starts to feel like a tough mountain to climb.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's grade this series before we move on here.
Series grades.
Yeah, Dan, I mean, I have to give them an F here. So the Rays continue to commit errors left and right, and you couldn't take advantage. You go 2 for 20 with runners in scoring position, which is 100 average, which is right around what Matt Wallner's hitting, I believe,
Oof,
Dan.
yeah.
But no, it's got to be an F here. This was a bad showing against a Rays team that is not a bad team, but mind you, but they're not good enough to sweep here.
Yeah, and I feel like with the lineup, it's middling scores here. A 7 out of 10 for the leadoff. A 6 out of 10 for the middle, that reflects the runners in scoring position. Like, they had guys get on and just couldn't bring them home. 7 out of 10 in the bottom, because I think that's where Lee was when he hit his big home, when he had his 3 for 4 game. Royce Lewis hit an RBI there. I mean, they're doing what I guess you'd expect from a 7, 8, 9. Starters, I gave a 6 out of 10. They just didn't give enough innings here. And really, I mean, aside from Bailey Ober, this wasn't great. And then the bullpen, I still gave them an 8 out of 10. I don't think they lost this series because the bullpen wasn't a total mess.
Correct.
So I think that's what's so weird is that the bullpen can hold things down, but they can also just get totally shellacked. That adds up to 34 out of 50, which is 68 out of 100, which is a D+. I don't feel like they are getting totally outclassed. They're just not playing well enough as everybody wants to win a series anymore. And we're doing this just a few weeks ago. So that's what's weird to me is they've shown that they can do it against even better teams, but they're just not doing it now.
Yeah, I do wonder how things are going to shake out against this Mariners squad, which I do have to say, there's a good chance that Monday and Tuesday is going to get all screwed up as far as timing is concerned because there is some weather rolling in, Dan. So I don't know how they're going to get these games in, but we'll have to see.
Well, and then speaking of things rolling in, David, we've got a new product here we're excited to tell people about.
Rolling in indeed, Dan. So let me tell you, product superiority is key when you're talking about anything you're going to purchase off the shelves, and there is no faster way to hydrate than Drip Drop. They have the science to prove it. 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drinks like Gatorade or Powerade. There's magnesium, zinc, and vitamin C for added immune support. Drip Drop is used by the Vikings, Timberwolves, Wild, and Twins. Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, and Special Forces train with it. The summer, Dan, is the ultimate time when you need hydration, and the sun is coming out here, folks, sooner rather than later. If you're outside in it and you have a job where you sweat or you're working out, it's critical that you take your hydration seriously. Take it to the cabin with you if it's hot and sweaty. Don't forget that Drip Drop, Dan. Nothing hydrates faster. Hangovers shouldn't be the focus. They should not be the focus, Dan. But if you personally find yourself using Drip Drop in the next morning after a night out, that's relevant because it's a game changer.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
So your Mariners, Dan, had a funny play here.
Yeah, so Logan Gilbert caught a ball in his clothes, which is a funny way to catch the ball. I guess I didn't realize you have to use your glove, apparently.
Yes.
Ends up being called a dead ball. It's not actually allowed. Is this a rule they should change? Should you be able to catch it with any part of your body?
How often does this happen that it should even have been a rule in the rulebook to begin with? Like, to me, so you're telling me that an outfielder can't use his hat to catch a ball by, like, overextending over the wall to rob a home run. I don't think the amount of times that this would actually happen, Dan, like the fact that we're even talking about it now proves that it doesn't happen that often. So to me, this is not a rule that's necessary. To me, you should say, well, that's an out. It never hit the ground.
I guess so. Maybe he's got to untuck his shirt. He's got to do something different. It's a different kind of wardrobe malfunction, I suppose, here. But leave it to the Mariners to do that here. By the way, in the standings, they're doing, well, they're kind of like the Twins. They're 14 and 15, so this is an important series. Also, every time I look at the standings and I see just athletics, I laugh. Like there's no location attached to them. And then speaking of the standings here, so the Red Sox, David, are 11 and 17. They're last in the AL East, and they just cleared house. They fired Alex Cora and the staff. I can't imagine that you are shedding a lot of tears over Alex Cora of Scandal himself getting fired.
What? Why would you say that? Yeah, no, so I do have a secret love of the Red Sox.
Well,
here.
that's what I mean. Okay, so you have that, but
yes.
I imagine Alex Cora is not your bestie.
No, I mean, I'm sure that there are many Red Sox fans who are thrilled. I mean, the Red Sox, they're a team that should be contending continually, and they just look bad this season. And so I'm thinking this will shake things up a little bit. It was weird when it happened, though. It was like on a night where the Red Sox had like a huge inning and they beat the Orioles like 17-1, and then Cora gets the phone call that you're out. Like, how terrible. It's like the lone bright spot you've had this season, and you hear the phone ring when you're in your office, and they're like, hey, ownership wants to see you there, Alex.
Oh, man. Well, it is what it is, I suppose. And then you have one other note here on the Cubs, David.
Yeah. So they had a 10-game winning streak, and that unfortunately came to an end with a 12-4 loss to the Dodgers. And no, it wasn't the first game they played the Dodgers, though, Dan. They won one game against the Dodgers, and you should go watch the end of that game because the way that whole game shook out was very interesting. But I do like the Cubs as well. You know, there's teams that you like to cheer for when your team isn't doing so well, and the Cubs and the Red Sox.
I think we're going to be dipping into that list. I think pretty soon here this season, David. All right, let's look forward to this Mariners series. We make our picks.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's picks.
All right, well, the listeners are going to take Buxton. I'm going to go ahead and take Jeffers, and then Hogs is going to take Martin, and then I assume you're going to take Wallner then, Dan?
Yeah. That worked out so well. I'll just stick with Royce Lewis. He's still there. He had a good series for me last time. Coming home. What did you say about the weather? Is it going to be super cold in Minnesota this week?
Yeah, it's going to be cold and rainy, and I don't know if they're going to get these games in or how they're going to get it done. I know they're going to try, but I don't think the start times are going to be accurate for these next 3 games, Dan.
Let's see. Well, and this is a 3-game series, so maybe they got a little wiggle room. We'll see. Well, no, I guess they don't. DJs for a 4-gamer after that. So
yeah.
Well, hopefully they can get the games in. David, well, this was fun. Even though the Twins aren't winning, it still is nice to be able to talk about these things. How about you go ahead and send us out?
I will. Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform so that you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further and gain access to our second podcast, Picture of Record, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hogs Hoganson, 3 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!